The existential anxieties surrounding the state of Israel have hardly diminished over the decades. If anything, they have in many ways intensified in the context of rising anti-Semitism and the increasingly open rhetoric of those who continue to question the very legitimacy of Israel's existence. Its alliance with the United States remains fundamentally strong, yet elsewhere, particularly across parts of Europe, the atmosphere surrounding Israel has become definably more uncertain and considerably less sympathetic than it once was. At the same time, the broader questions continue to emerge regarding the relationship between Israel and the Jewish diaspora, the nature of advocacy and influence in Washington, D.C., and the future strategic direction of the wider Middle East. You're watching Context. I'm Orkhan Amashov, and earlier, in conversation with Jason Isaacson of the American Jewish Committee, we explored some of those very questions. Mr. Jason Isaacson, welcome to AnewZ. Thank you very much indeed for this distinct privilege.
Thank you, Orkhan. It's good to be with you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Well, a lot is happening in our day and age. And the organization that you represent, American Jewish Committee, was established actually back in 1906, long time ago. Back then, there was no state of Israel. There was no Islamic Republic of Iran with the explicit purpose of the destruction of the Jewish state. A British Empire was still alive. America wasn't a superpower. So it was a different time. And the mandate of that organization back then was about protecting the rights of Jewish population all over the world. A lot has changed since then. What does American Jewish Committee stand for today?
I mean, frankly, it still stands for those same principles of protecting the rights, the security of Jews around the world, in our country, the United States, but elsewhere. We have 15 offices overseas in addition to the 25 that we have across the United States. There are still Jewish communities that are threatened around the world and in the United States with a surge in anti-Semitism, especially over the last number of years. It is also very much about, since the founding of the modern state of Israel, protecting the rights of Israel, the international recognition of Israel, the right of Israel to be treated normally in the community of nations, the security of Israel, and also very much focused on advancing Israel's full integration into its region, into its neighborhood. We have devoted considerable energy over the particularly last 30 plus years in developing contacts across the Arab world that will, we hope, open doors to normal relations with Israel. Some of those doors have been opened, clearly at the last months of the first Trump administration through the Abraham Accords, but over time we expect that there'll be even further integration of Israel into the region. We're also especially interested in and very much devoted to the relationship that Israel has with a great number of other countries. But a great example of that, of course, is the relationship with Azerbaijan. The Israeli-Azerbaijani strategic partnership is hugely significant, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here in Azerbaijan this week.
Would you describe the American Jewish Committee as a foreign policy advocacy group, or is it much beyond that? I mean, during interwar period from 1980 to 1939, it was the most effective Jewish advocacy group. Even New York Times described American Jewish Committee as a dean of Jewish advocacy groups. What is the clout of the organization, and to what extent do you think it is beyond foreign policy advocacy group?
Look, I think in many ways we represent the mainstream of American Jewish thought, patriotism of American Jews, the sense of shared values with the values of the U.S. Constitution, democratic values, also the necessity of American leadership in the world, principled American leadership in the world. We have consistently, throughout our history, worked in ways that we think were the most successful, the most pragmatic ways to assure that there are healthy societies, that the United States is a healthy society for minorities, for all peoples. And in such healthy societies, our community can thrive. And the same goes true around the world. We support human rights, knowing that the defense of human rights will defend minorities. These are issues that are more or less relevant in different societies, in different countries. I am very privileged to be in a country today with you that defends the rights of minorities, that defends the rights of the small but very important Jewish minority. We value that, and AJC stands for friendship with, support for countries that defend the rights of minorities, and that also would like very much to expand if they have already relations with Israel, or develop relations with Israel if they don't already have those relations. So some of the principles that we established ourselves with 120 years ago are just as relevant today as they were more than a century ago. Others that developed after the independence of the State of Israel in 1948 are more contemporary. And then, of course, we have, over the last several years, with increasing crises that Israel has faced as it has defended itself against terrorism, developed a whole new line of argument that we've had to develop to explain the situation that Israel has found itself in because of the attacks that have been so vicious, so atrocious on Israeli populations, the Israeli society. We are relying on the friendship of countries in the region and beyond the region to continue to uphold the security of Israel and the normal relations with Israel that serve the interests of frankly, the broader region, the interests of stability and peace across the region.
I will come to the point about the concept of Abraham, of course, a bit later. The United States has quite often been criticized for being very supportive of Israel. Even some critics of the U.S., the wide range of U.S. administrations have been arguing that U.S. has been supporting Israel to the detriment of its own national interests. As long as American Jewish Committee is concerned, would you say for you the major principle is America first or Israel first? Or maybe America first and Israel first actually could be deemed as part of the self-same configuration. What would be your answer to that very, very essential?
I would really reject that kind of whole characterization. We are American Jews who believe in the principles of America, who believe in the national interests of America, and we know that the values of America will support our community. We share those values. Those are our values. But also the national interest of the United States, the national interest of the United States has been served by its relationship with Israel. Its most important and most powerful democratic ally, the only democratic ally that it has in the Middle East, a country that shares technology with the United States, that shares a great deal of sort of intelligence and security cooperation with the United States and technological cooperation with the United States, that also is, of course, the country that has a religious connection with a great many American citizens as well. So on security grounds, on religious grounds, on values grounds, it is natural for Americans of all sorts, including American Jews, to support the relationship, the alliance that exists between the United States and the State of Israel. There's no America first, Israel first. We believe in the values of the United States, and the interests of the United States are served by the relationship the United States has with the State of Israel.
America first also probably means being very supportive of Israel. Supporting Israel means supporting American interests in the region. So those two things maybe be two pillars of the self-same understanding of U.S. foreign policy, perhaps.
Although let me say as well, there are countries around the world that have an important strategic relationship with Israel, that have an important strategic relationship with the United States, an important economic relationship with the United States, an important sharing of values with the United States that AJC has been deeply involved in supporting as well. We have worked very closely with Arab states that have strategic interests with the United States, cooperate with the United States, but also have a relationship with Israel. And when those countries are perhaps not well understood in the United States, my organization has done what we can to explain the value to the United States, to the people of the United States, of these relationships that we have with the Kingdom of Morocco, with the United Arab Emirates, with the Kingdom of Bahrain, with other countries, and frankly after Camp David, with the Republic of Egypt, with the Kingdom of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. These are all countries that have an important role in protecting American security interests, American economic interests, and we do what we can to partner with those countries to advance the interests of regional peace and stability and prosperity.
There's another American ally, at least formally, in that region, Turkey, which is a NATO member, currently having troubled relation with the State of Israel, but that wasn't the case all the time. Of course, remember 1990s, that age was quite different. And that very same nation called Turkey is an ally of Azerbaijan as well. And Azerbaijan has got a very crucial, absolutely vital strategic partnership with Israel, which has been evolving over the past decades. Something very important happened in this region over the past couple of years. Azerbaijan recovered its territorial integrity. And on the 8th of August, in the presence of President Donald Trump in Washington, two leaders, President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan, initialed the peace agreement, and it will be signed at some point later. How important is this moment for U.S. Israeli interests in the South Caucasus and beyond?
Anything that increases the peace and stability and prosperity of Azerbaijan is in the interest of the State of Israel as a partner of Azerbaijan. And the fact that between Azerbaijan and Armenia, there is now a whole chapter that is a new chapter that is being written that will provide for your security, your stability, your increased prosperity is good news for the region. And also really a feather in the cap of the United States, of President Trump, for helping to move this long-standing, very painful conflict to a different stage, to a much more hopeful stage. So that can benefit not only peace and stability in the region, but also for all of the friends of this region, and that includes the State of Israel.
I'll come to a point about this triangle, U.S., Israel, Azerbaijan, and another triangle called Israel, Azerbaijan, Turkey a bit later. That's a fascinating subject. But one more question about another important moment when it comes to the U.S.-Azerbaijani Strategic Charter. That charter was signed in February of this year when the U.S. Vice President was here. It's very substantive. There are key areas: energy, connectivity, AI, and so forth. What else will need to be added there, and how consequential is it in the grand scheme of things, bearing in mind what's happening in Iran, what's happening up in Russia, in terms of security, what it is going to give to Azerbaijan in a very palpable sense of the word?
Look, I mean, it was a dramatic moment when the vice president was in Baku to sign that agreement with President Aliyev. And it I think, speaks to the opening of a new chapter in the relationship between the United States and Azerbaijan, one that my organization has been devoted to for a long time. But the fact that President Trump, his administration, was able to move this forward. It is a very detailed set of agreements, of understandings between these two countries. And I know that working groups have been working on energy, on trade, on a whole range of other issues, on security. It's exciting. And the potential is vast. Azerbaijan is a country that has so much to contribute to America's security. It has served in the past as a bridge to other interests the United States has in this region, as you know, of course, Afghanistan and other issues. But the fact that it's so strategically placed, maybe sometimes awkwardly, but certainly crucially for regional, global security, with Russia on one side and Iran on the other, and of course your brotherly relationship with Turkey, which is of course a NATO ally of the United States, makes Azerbaijan a particularly important destination for American strategic interests and economic interests. You have a long-standing economic relationship with the United States through the oil sector, other energy sectors, but increasingly others as well. And I'm hopeful that through this Charter for Strategic Partnership, you will see a real expansion of the AI cooperation with Azerbaijan, other trade, other investment opportunities. Again, your position is unique in this region, and I think an enormous asset to the United States.
Do you think this 8th of August breakthrough, which involves a number of arrangements, not just Azerbaijan, I mean in peace, but also strategic charter to which we made reference, would have happened without President Donald Trump being president? Because before President Trump's re-elevation to the post of U.S. president, the relations were deeply problematic. We remember Azerbaijan voiced its concerns regarding the policies pursued by President Blinken and Secretary of State, President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken. Do you think, had Democrats been in charge of the nation's affairs today, that charter would have been signed still?
It's hard to say. We're a nonpartisan organization. We work with and have great respect for leaders of both parties and presidents of both parties. I think in a way it was sort of a natural evolution. It was increasingly clear, I believe, that Azerbaijan had a strategically important role to play for American security and American economic interests. And whether it had happened under President Trump or under a Democratic president. I think this was the time was coming, and so I don't want to say that there's one party that is more pro-Azerbaijan than another in the United States. I believe that our national interests will dictate the course of our relationships with this country going forward. And frankly, an organization like ours, which has a deep investment, a long-term relationship, engagement with Azerbaijan, we also will play a role in making it clear that the partnership with Azerbaijan is in the best interest of the United States.
There's one particular moment I would like to specifically ask about. When the 8th of August arrangement was declared and announced, there were a number of critics. And one of those critics was in the United States, ANCA, Armenian National Committee, and they described this arrangement as being deeply unfair. And since then, and before that as well, they've been advocating for revenge, some sort of revenge, revenge involving changing the facts on the ground. And they're currently actually very openly talking about the fact that Pashinyan should lose elections, and there will be 7th of June parliamentary elections in Armenia. Very interesting moment, because I earlier asked about American Jewish Committee, whether it's America first or Israel first. You rejected that sort of a categorical delineation, but basically it's America first, as I understand from your response. Impression given is that a certain advocacy group functioning inside America is actually talking about one particular possibility, which does not seem to be in line with American national interests. That's the impression that we have. How does this situation look like to you? Because there's another element there. They're advocating for something which would be within the best interests of perhaps some Russian policymakers as well. The very interesting conglomeration is emerging. Russian state, foreign policy institutions, advocacy groups based in the United States. How does this situation look like to you?
It is complicated for diaspora communities to get the right balance sometimes in how to express their natural concerns as maybe expatriates from that country or people with ancestry in that country or continue to have relatives and relationships in that country, and the policies of that country, of the government, the present government of that country. This is something that we're very familiar with as diaspora as well, but not only the American Jewish community, other communities that are diaspora communities have to navigate that relationship with the country that is at stake, that is at issue. I believe that over time it will be increasingly clear to the Armenian diaspora in the United States that the agreement of last summer, the fact that you're on a very different course, charting a different future, a much more wholesome, healthy future, stable future for this region, for that country and for Azerbaijan, will become increasingly apparent. But I can understand how a diaspora might view things through a particular prism. It is not unfamiliar to me as a representative of a diaspora as well. Sometimes one has a different attitude, a different approach, different priorities. But I think over time, the interests of the United States and the interest of peace and stability in this region will be uppermost in the minds of that diaspora as well.
One more question about this two triangles that I mentioned. When I was interviewing Israel's former ambassador to this country, His Excellency George Zik, just last year in March, I think, 2025, that was before the 8th of August breakthrough. And I put him a question about Azerbaijan-U.S. strategic partnership and perhaps U.S.-Azerbaijan-Israel triangle. He responded in a very interesting way. He said that Israel has got this vital partnership alliance with the United States, goes without saying. Azerbaijan is a very valuable partner for Israel, and actually Israel wants its two valuable friends to be on friendly terms. And then President Aliyev in 2025, again in April, was delivering remarks in front of policymakers, said that Turkey is our ally, Israel is our vital partner, friend. We want our friends to be on friendly terms. So we talk about two sort of triangles. In one, Azerbaijan is mending relations between Turkey and Israel. In the second triangle, Israel playing absolutely vital role to bring Azerbaijan and US together. What do you make of these two triangles?
Very interesting. I would like to think that it's possible, given the leadership of this country, given the respect in which it is held in Jerusalem and in Washington, that it will, and of course the brotherly relationship that you have with Turkey, that it will be possible for Azerbaijan to play a role, a positive role in de-escalating the tensions that exist, unfortunately, between Turkey and Israel. Countries that have a long history of relations, that have a history of kind of people-to-people relations and business relations and even strategic relations that have broken down in the last last decade or decade and a half or so. I would like to see them restored. I think it's in the interest of the region that they be restored to a normal working relationship. Some really poisonous things have been said about Israel in Turkey by the leadership of that country. Very unfortunate, does not serve the interest of the region, does not advance the welfare of the Palestinian people, does not improve the possibility of greater regional cooperation against common threats. I believe that the long-term interests of both Turkey and Israel will be best served by a closer, more important relationship. And I do believe that Azerbaijan, as a friend of both, as an ally of both, really, partner and ally, can play that role. I look forward to that.
And we also remember some not so nice words have been said about Turkey and Israel as well.
This is true. This is true as well. There have been some hotheads on both sides.
Also would like to discuss with you, and going to be my last question, maybe set of last questions perhaps, about Abraham Accords. It has been suggested that Azerbaijan may also join this Accords, but I mean, as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, this Accords about normalization, about sort of recognizing Israel, diplomatic recognition. I think Azerbaijan and Israel have got brilliant relations. Azerbaijan does not need Abraham Accords in order to join the cohort of those countries. But what do you make of Azerbaijan and potentially Armenia as well joining this wider system? Is it about entrepreneurially driven process with economic projects at the heart of it, or is it something more than that?
Look, I think to some extent it was a sense that we have the Abraham Accords that have now been in place for 5+ years, and it's been kind of stalled in terms of trying to expand that circle of Arab-Israeli peace. And because that's been frozen for some time because of the crisis in Gaza, because of the Hamas atrocities and attack on October 7th, and now, of course, with the Iran war. It has been difficult to mount a campaign successfully to expand the circle of Arab-Israeli peace while so many other distractions have been taking place and disruptions. I think the idea of bringing Azerbaijan into that circle of Arab-Israeli peace was a way of saying that the Abraham Accords is still moving forward. It's still a very viable enterprise. The Abraham Accords doesn't need Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan doesn't need the Abraham Accords. You have, for more than 30 years, a very important relationship with Israel. But if Azerbaijan can play a role in kind of expanding understanding of Israel across the Muslim world, Azerbaijan is a member of the OIC, as an important player in the, right now the chair of the Organization of Turkic States as well. I think the influence of Azerbaijan can be positive in kind of building on the Abraham Accords. Not so much that Azerbaijan would be part of the Abraham Accords, but could be a very important supporter and explainer and maybe a bridge for other countries through the Abraham Accords. So I think the impression that I have from my contact with Azerbaijani officials is that while they don't need the Abraham Accords, they're open to the possibility of being somehow embraced in the Abraham Accords partnership and conversation. And I think that Azerbaijan can continue to play that sort of role, as can other states, other members of the Organization of Turkic States. I'm hoping that, as you know, there's been discussion about Kazakhstan also being part of this as well. And I believe that other countries could, in some way, even those that have, as does Kazakhstan also, already a relationship with Israel, it can build on the momentum that was established in the first Trump administration through the Abraham Accords by expanding the circle of understanding and cooperation with Israel.
Mr. Isaacson, the inception of the Jewish state, modern state of Israel, was not problem-free. There were many adversaries. There were many countries not accepting the reality of the Jewish state. Many actors in the region talk about destruction of the Jewish state as well, which lies at the heart of Israeli perception that there is an existential threat to Israel, to its existence. But a lot has to change. We remember Saudi Arabia has changed its point of view regarding many Arab countries. You have been widely regarded, unanimously recognized by everybody as indefatigable supporter of Arab-Israeli peace and normalization. To what extent this sort of a sense that the state of Israel should never be recognized as a legitimate state still still there, floating in the air within that domain, or what we may call the wider Middle East? Is it still there? How considerable is it? Because one actor, called the Islamic Republic of Iran, has officially declared this particular ambition as its ideology.
Right. So, really interesting question. Other than the Islamic Republic of Iran, which has declared as official policy the destruction, the annihilation of Israel, there aren't many governments that feel that way or that express that openly. And yet there are many governments that continue to find ways to express support for resistance to Israel, that continue to isolate Israel, that continue to vote against Israel repeatedly in UN and other international forums, that continue to prevent their citizens from having contact with Israelis, that sometimes will have senior officials say the most destructive things, the most vicious things about Israel. So while it's true that the conversation has shifted in recent years, Israel is much more of an established fact in the minds of even those countries that have been in opposition to Israel, it is still not broadly accepted by too many governments. And we know that that's going to change. It will change over time. It has changed over time. It needs to change faster, and we need to see true normalization. I would love to see the day when we no longer have 15 or 20 resolutions in the UN General Assembly every fall targeting Israel, the one-sided approach that the UN Human Rights Council takes toward Israel and other institutions as well. It's time to put that in the rearview mirror and to move forward. Israel is deeply engaged in many countries across the Arab world. It has ambitions to and can contribute enormously to a greater engagement and greater sharing of technology and security cooperation, intelligence cooperation, and cooperation in a range of fields that would be of enormous benefit to the societies across the Middle East and North Africa and the wider Muslim world. Israel already has certain lower level, quieter engagements with countries with which it does not have full diplomatic relations. But it's time to get it out of the shadows. There's too much to contribute by Israel, as your country knows well. And I'm hopeful that we will see the time in the not too distant future when the wars and the misunderstandings and the discrimination of the past are really in the past. And we are now moving into a very different era.
How hopeful are you, I said, and how likely is it that that very future that we talked and envisaged will involve also a Palestinian state next to Israel?
Look, I know from my conversations across in Arab countries that do not now have relations with Israel, but recognize the benefit that will accrue to their societies if they do have a relationship with Israel, that one factor that is very much in their minds is the future of the Palestinian people, that there needs to be some resolution of this long-standing and very painful conflict. And we believe that as well in our organization. AJC has a long history of support for a pathway toward statehood for the Palestinian people, but it's not something that can just be granted overnight or declared unilaterally before the institutions of statehood are really functioning. You don't want a failed Palestinian state. We need to move slowly, carefully, deliberately toward self-governance for the Palestinian people in a way that does not threaten the state of Israel. It'll take a while. I mean, at this point, you still have, unfortunately, Palestinian children brought up to believe that their path to salvation is by killing Jews. Unacceptable. There has to be a very different narrative. There has to be a recognition that these are two peoples indigenous to the land that have to find a way of sharing that land. That needs to be further integrated into Israeli society, but a traumatized Israeli society from October 7th is not ready at this point to accept the possibility of a Palestinian state on their border that could threaten them. It could again be taken over by Hamas. So we need to find a way to change the narrative on the Palestinian side and to assure that there's a degree of trust and confidence on the Israeli side that they can move forward. But should the ultimate direction be toward a Palestinian state, that's the ultimate direction we want to be pursuing.
Thank you very much indeed for this absolutely fascinating discussion. I'm so grateful to you. We discussed a wide range of issues. We talked about the mission of the organization you represent, American Jewish Committee, which has been in existence for the past 120 years, the importance of the State of Israel, dynamics involving Washington and Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Azerbaijan-Israeli relations, of course, naturally very important, much beyond that transactional element that we discussed last time. And thank you again. I'm so grateful.
Thank you, Orkhan. Pleasure.
Pleasure's mine.